Hello and welcome to the new episode of the Full-funnel B2B Marketing podcast brought to you by Full-funnel.io and Full-funnel Academy. This is your host, Andrei Zinkiewicz, and today we are going to chat with Sid Bharath, co-founder of Broca, which is AI content generation software. Actually, Sid was as well VP of growth at Thinkific, and he's SaaS consultant. He worked with well-known companies like ClickUp. And today, I want to chat about two topics. First of all, I want to chat about how AI is going to replace content marketers or mediocre content marketers, if you will. And the second one is it is a B2B startup, and actually Sid was in charge of growing Thinkific, and he helped that company to become like a multi-million company. And we're going to chat how exactly he is planning to grow Proca. So that would be indeed interesting and valuable for you. So first of all, Sid, thanks a lot for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Andre.
And, I mentioned that we love to start with a Blitz questionnaire. So I will ask 3 questions, and I would like to ask you to answer with the first thing that will come to your mind. So let's start with the first one. What is the number one thing that you passionately disagree about content marketing best practices?
I disagree that, you see like one company or one person, like say Gary Vaynerchuk, who's like, oh my God, TikTok is the hot new thing and everyone should use it. And then everyone goes, oh, well, Gary Vay said it, so we're going to try and do it. And I disagree with that, that kind of like mental framework that marketers would use. Just because it's working for one company doesn't mean it should work with yours. And I really believe that every marketer, if you're starting a new company or every company that's trying to do marketing, has to figure out what their customers are and where their customers are online before they figure out which channels.
This is usually this is indeed usually comes from the symptom which we used to call the grass is greener on the neighbor's side, because somebody told that Reddit works or Quora works or Facebook works.
Exactly.
Marketers tend to think, okay, this is where I need to dive in deeply without realizing if their audience is on that platform or channel.
Yeah. I mean, even in the concept of content marketing itself, is that really the best channel for practice for you? It may be, most cases, yeah, sure, but you have to like figure that out for yourself and for your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second question, what should everyone in the B2B marketing space stop doing regarding content marketing?
I think everyone needs to stop copying what other companies are doing, and needs to try to figure out their own original value proposition, who are the customers, and try to like position themselves in the way that the customers are thinking. So put yourself in the customer's shoes versus just thinking about your own company and your own product. Try to understand things from the customer side of you, and position yourself that way and market yourself that way.
Love it. And actually, the last question in this Blitz questionnaire is, what should everyone in the B2B marketing space start doing about content marketing?
Start with customer research. I think a lot of marketers skip that part because, and it's not their fault mostly. It's like sometimes the CEO or the founding team or the executive team will say, hey, we need leads today, right? And so, if you're doing customer research to start with, then you're not getting the leads right away. So, but I still think it's a very important foundation to set up for your marketing in the future growth, to create that, understand the customer and start from there.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. I believe that customer research is the most undervalued and basically undervalued thing that is quite often ignored and deprioritized in the marketing teams, because I feel this is how many marketers operate. They tend to think, okay, I know everything about my target audience, this is what we need to do, and these are the best practices, so let's just do it. And the best way, and the truth is, if you want to become a great copywriter, it all starts from the customer research. You need to call your best customers. You need to understand what motivates them to buy, how they are going to make their buying decisions, how do they research, what content do they consume, etc. And basically, you need to use customer language in your copy to actually motivate them to start using your product or buying your product. I want to ask you one question. So you decided to create an AI platform that generates content like such as ad copy, blog posts, etc. for marketing campaigns. So what was your, let's say, motivation? Is it because the quality of content became so mediocre, or because there is a huge need?
My main motivation was there was a huge need because I worked as a marketer at various companies before, various startups, SaaS companies, B2B companies. And the biggest thing I saw, the biggest bottleneck in the marketing was being able to create content. So, if a company wanted to do more blog posts, there weren't enough people to write those blog posts. If they wanted to do more ads, there weren't enough people to write the ad copy. They wanted to expand on social media, there weren't enough people to create that content. That was always the number one bottleneck in any marketing team to scale. And that's why I wanted to build this so that you can use AI to scale it up.
Cool. And so I'm thinking about this, I definitely see the need, and I definitely see how it can, let's say, ramp up your content production, and it can refine your ads campaign. But at the same time, don't you think that it can be dangerous, let's say, for the mediocre marketers or content writers, because at one moment, let's say, an executive or chief marketing officer can say, okay, guys, like the same for external, marketing agencies or content agencies, they might say, okay, so now we have Broca or any other AI software that generates content. And we don't see any difference between what you guys are doing, and this software. So don't you think that it might, instead of actually being an assistant to these marketers, it can actually dig a grave for them?
Well, that's the thing. You have to ask yourself, if you are a mediocre copywriter, why are you mediocre, right? And I think the answer is not just to shy away from technology, but it's to improve your skills as a marketer and a copywriter. Because I don't think the AI will replace all the marketers. You're right. It'll replace maybe the lower end and the mediocre ones. But it helps the good writers and the good content marketers, because if you're a good content marketer, you still only have 24 hours in a day, right? And so you can only produce some amount of work. But if you have an AI software that's helping you generate more content, and you can, edit the content and shape it, then you can produce 5 times, 10 times more content for your marketing, right? So you'll be 10 times more productive. So yeah, the question you need to ask yourself is, if you're a mediocre copywriter, is that what you want to be doing in your life? And if it is, then make your skills better so that you're still valuable and still needed in the company, versus being afraid of the AI.
So in this case, it can be even a motivator to actually improve your own skills.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? If you can't get better, then maybe it's not the right field for you. And there's, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. So maybe sales is a better field for you. Maybe customer support or some other part, maybe partnerships within marketing or some other field is a lot better for you.
Got it. And another question I was wondering, won't the platform like Broca kill in marketers 2 important skills like thinking and creativity?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? I think the marketer's job going forward, as AI becomes more prevalent in the workspace, in marketing teams, the marketer's job becomes more of the high level strategy, this creativity, the thinking, the long-term vision, right? And they let the AI do the grunt work, the day-to-day stuff, so that it frees up their time to do the bigger, high-value thinking.
So in this case, let's. I'm thinking about this. So the key vector for a marketer should be developing the fundamental skills. So basically, thinking about yourself as a chief marketing officer. So that should be your end point. You should cultivate this, let's say, long-term vision thinking. You should cultivate the creativity. You should understand the how to create go-to-market strategy, and basically improve all stages of your marketing and sales funnels, etc. So that's the key. And let's say for all other areas, anyhow, AI will show up and will be replacing, let's say, the human job.
Exactly, and that's how, like, I've worked with so many small businesses and startups, right? And when I was there at those companies, um, I I had to spend most of my time just creating content, blog content, ads, social media. And that didn't let me have enough time to think about what is the long-term strategy, to do customer research, to plan out campaigns in advance, right? So because I couldn't do that, it was all very short-term and reactionary content marketing, which is not the best, right? So instead, if I had an AI platform that was able to generate that content for me, then it frees up my time to think long-term. What do we want to do in the next quarter, the next year? Like, what is the long-term goal here, the long-term vision? How do we build out the strategy and the hiring plan and all of that kind of stuff? And that would have led to much more um, long-term growth for the company as well.
Yeah. And my next question is, um, when it comes, let's say, when it comes to the skill set you have described, and when it comes to AI, don't you think that, let's say, there are two companies that are prospecting the same target audience, and they operate on the same market, and they start using this AI? How they are going to compete with each other, as all of the content and all of the ads that are dedicated to the same target audience are produced by AI? What's
Yeah,
the role of, let's say, marketer here?
that's a great question. And the role of the marketer here is to identify their positioning in the industry and the unique value proposition. And so, yes, the AI may produce a lot of the same content for both the companies, but then it's the marketer's role to take whatever it's producing and say, you know what, let's edit it slightly in this direction, and let's push the AI towards this direction, right? So that they can build out that unique positioning in the consumer's mind, in the prospect's mind, and also create a sort of like a clear differentiation between them and the competitor.
Yeah, and I say again, it's tightly intertwined with the things that we have discussed before. So you must have the skills. So you need to dive deeply into
Yep.
strategic part. So you need to understand how to improve your value proposition, how to refine your position, and how to stand out from the competition. So this, again, just thinking about the trends and future. So this should be the core skill set marketers should be cultivating in themselves. Because there is a funny fact, I recently made a post on LinkedIn why B2B marketing agencies won't help B2B companies to achieve a sustainable growth. And that's a tricky part, actually, because agencies are usually in charge of execution. And this is the same what AI might be doing. The truth is, let's say, soon AI can do search engine optimization for you, even generated, like nowadays you have like crowd market platforms where you can ask for backlinks from the website you want without even having an SEO agency. The same with ads. Yeah, if you are not cultivating this skill set inside your company, then yeah, then you are doomed, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go practical. You have helped Thinkific to become a multi-million company. What's the potential of Broca?
My answer is going to be highly biased because I'm the founder of the company, but I think that it has $1 billion potential. The reason being, I at every single company I worked at, and I have a large network of friends who are in marketing as well. Um, I know that the number one bottleneck for all of these companies is creating content. And so I know that any company that is doing digital marketing is going to be a potential customer. And like, you think about how much companies spend just on like advertising alone, or
Yes.
hiring writers for their blog content. Um, when you combine all of that, because we're producing content for all that, then it could easily be $1 billion industry or company. and the industry is way more than $1 billion. The industry is like hundreds of billions of dollars. So yeah.
And actually, what's your go-to-market strategy, and how are you going to differentiate Proca from other AI content generation platforms?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I'll answer it in the reverse order. So like the number one thing is we're really working hard to differentiate ourselves from the other products by building the product for in the first case for specifically for marketers at companies, B2B marketers, marketers at startups. And the reason is we've noticed that many of the other competitors are for copywriters, solo copywriters. And the difference there is copy is one component of the overall marketing piece, right? But as a marketer, there's other things you need to do. Like if you were running the marketing at a company, you're not just writing copy, but you're thinking about, what are the different channels you're going after? How do all the channels work together to produce a consistent message? What is the core messaging behind the product or the company that you're promoting, right? So all of those pieces are something that we are trying to solve with our platform. So it helps you not just generate the content, but also create content that's consistent messaging across different channels. It helps your team collaborate on that content. It helps you ensure that everyone is on the same page, that you're sending the same message out to the right people, and also that you're creating a really good core value proposition and core brand message. So that's kind of like the main way we're differentiating, and then the go-to-market strategy leads from there. So we are clearly specifically for marketers, marketing teams, and so our go-to-market strategy is working with channel partners, working directly reach out to our target audience, and also dog fooding. We're going to use our own product to generate campaigns, content marketing, and then use that to attract new customers.
That was actually my next question. I wanted to ask how do you plan to use the key features of Broca for the growth of this software? So basically, is it possible to automate the growth by using your own software?
Absolutely. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I generated like 5 or 6 landing pages for our website within 1 hour by using our own product, right? And the what I was trying to do there was one strategy of like, because the field is still fairly new, it's easier to rank for certain keywords. And so I was just taking certain keywords and I was telling the product to generate a page and promotional material for that page, for that keyword, right? So that was kind of like the idea, just like to really quickly put up new landing pages, new content, start ranking for those keywords, start promoting those pages, and even promoting it on ads as well.
Okay, got it. And what are the potential pitfalls you see?
Yeah, I think potential pitfalls is basically like the number one thing is we want to ensure that the output of the AI is high quality, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it may not be, but also sometimes it depends on what you put in as an input, right? So and that's something that we can't control as a company or as a software. So that is one potential pitfall. Like if you put in, garbage in, garbage out. The other thing is sometimes you may put in good stuff, but like the output is also not the best, right? So I think, just don't rely only on the AI. And this is not just for our product, but for any product in the industry. If you're using an AI platform to generate your content, don't just rely on the output directly, but use your own marketer's intuition or knowledge as a marketer to take that and to refine it and to make it better, or to think about whether this piece of content generated is actually the right way to promote your product or position your brand, or reach the customer's mind.
How actually you are going to explain this to B2B companies, to potential users? The reason why I'm asking this question, if you think about the human psychology, laziness, it's just a key feature, so you have an AI and now you start producing this content, and basically lots of companies, they have growth obsession and scalability obsession. So everything should be scalable, like growth at any price, etc. So they start producing more and more the content. And at the same time, at least I did this my own observations. At the same time, they start wearing pink glasses, so they can't just identify where is a garbage, like you said, and where is like a good landing page or a good blog post or a good ad. So how you are going to explain this to potential users and actually prevent this situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one way we can do it is just the way we design our product. And something we're doing is to not just produce one output, but also produce a bunch of variations on that. So as a marketer, you have a bunch of different options, and then you can choose the best one that's most suitable for you, right? So even if you're too lazy to like take that and to do some editing and refine it even more, at least you get a bunch of variations and you're picking the best one from them. So that's one thing we can do. The second thing we're doing is we're trying to build that feedback loop in. So when you create content using our platform and you put it out on social media, your emails, your ads, we want to be able to track the performance of that as well and show you how that's performed so that in the future you can do better because you know what's working and what's not working. So at least we'll be able to show you data to push you in the right direction as well.
Is it only about performance optimization or as well recommendations on how to improve the ad, the copy or whatever?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So both of them, right? Like, we haven't built that yet, but in the future, that's something that we definitely want to do is not just performance optimizations, but also being able to data mine the past content you've created and then make recommendations in the future on what's working and what isn't.
And a practical question about Broca. How are you going to, let's say, protect your company from churn? Especially, in the AI industry, there are lots of parrots, I used to call them that way, or copy pasters that literally create the same software, then go to product hunt and AppSumo selling lifetime deals. And basically, there is like a low barrier to switch to, to the lifetime deal. How you are going to protect your product and your customers' database from churn?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of these companies that are doing the lifetime deals are doing it because they know that customers could churn. And so they're trying to lock the customers up in a lifetime deal, which I feel is, maybe like slightly unethical. But what we are trying to do is build in tools that make it more valuable to you the longer you use it. So like, for example, if you use us, and this doesn't happen with any other platform, but the more you use us, the more we learn from the content performance and improve the outputs, right? So if you switch, you will lose all of that, and you're going to another product that doesn't understand your previous history of content, right? So you'll instantly lose a lot of performance. The second thing is adding collaboration features. So we'll be a place where you can manage all your campaigns and collaborate with your team on multiple campaigns as well. And again, when you have your team, it's like, say, if you're using Slack, right? You have your team in Slack, it's very hard for you to shift to another thing because your entire team is already in Slack. So having the performance improvements over time, having a team collaborate, we're just building out more and more features that make it better for you, make the product better for you the longer you use it.
That's really a good one, because this is exactly what I'm doing with my new software, how I plan. And basically the key point here, the more marketing plans and the more marketing knowledge you create inside that software, the harder will be to churn from this, because all the takeaways, all the knowledge, all the results of the past campaigns are inside the software, and basically it becomes like one of the most valuable assets, marketing assets for your company. This is where all the knowledge stores. So I completely agree on this. And the question I want to discuss with you, being a marketer and now being a SaaS founder, having an AI product that can, as we spoke, it can help you, it can assist you to automate the growth of this product. How do you think about your marketing team? who would you like to have in your team, and what should be the skill set of these people?
Great question. I think like initially on, you'd want generalist people who can be effective in various areas, especially when you're a small company, so that you can be flexible. Like I said earlier, how do you identify where you should be marketing? Should you be focusing on social media, TikTok or Instagram, or should you be focusing on advertising, or should you be focusing on SEO? And this depends on who your customer is, who your audience is, and where they are online. So, initially on, you'd want someone who's a generalist who has like a good understanding of buyer psychology and purchasing behavior, and who can really do a lot of research into understanding who the customer is, where they are online, and develop the initial marketing strategy based on that research. As the company grows, as the marketing team grows, you decide who to hire based on what's working. So I'll give an example. Back when I was at Thinkific, I was the first marketer, and then initially on, I realized that partnerships were a very key piece of our growth. Right, we would partner with. We tested a few things. We partnered with some influencers. We partnered with a bunch of other software companies, and we found that when they promoted our product to their audiences, we got like a lot of signups. So that partnerships became a early strategy for us, and I decided to hire someone to manage that full time because we were seeing initial traction there. So early on, you want to run a bunch of tests, figure out which channels have the best traction, and then hire someone specifically for that channel, especially someone who can think long term and think about the strategy of it and come up with creative ways to build out that channel.
That's a great one. So thanks a lot for sharing all these insights. I love it. Completely agree with the last point. And for our listeners, you guys can find a link to Broca's website in this podcast description, or if you are watching this episode on YouTube, then check the video description so you can sign up and access. Depending on when you are listening to this episode, maybe you'll have an access to let's say to the platform. So far you can request the early access, and keep an eye on all the upcoming events, because we are going to host a live workshop on how to generate landing pages and ads and content in the real time. So the link to all the upcoming events again in the podcast description. So sign up and stay tuned. Thanks a lot, Sid, for sharing all this stuff. Love the chat.
Awesome, Andre. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and see you guys in the next episode.